Hello there, it's Steve-O here from the Elite FPL podcast, and yeah, I'm deciding to do a solo podcast. As you can see, it is a completely brand new setup. I'm really excited for this. This is absolutely new to me, let alone to you guys. As you guys know, all I used to do was use a mobile phone, this thing here, set up in front of me, and I'd use my PlayStation 4, which I know Daily Llama has already joked about. That's all I'd use, and now you've got this. Straight away I can already see people in the chat. Chris Judge, a name that we've missed, and Cameron Rawcliffe, aka FPL Kids there, hello there. If you can let me know how well this is going, please do, because like I said, this is just purely an experiment at the moment. I'm fully aware there is no fantasy football whatsoever. But I just want to start by saying I just want to thank Jason, our co-host, for setting me up this whole thing this morning. This has been a long-term project of mine, and simply put, I can't thank him enough. I'm so grateful at the fact that he recommended this laptop for me. He recommended the microphone, which I'll just put on screen there. And yeah, this is literally the first solo podcast. I'm not going to call it first of the season. These are just pre-season friendlies, so to speak. And yeah, we got a whole new setup. And I can finally, when I'm doing these podcasts, I can finally start showing you what specifically I'm looking at. So at the moment, you can see on the screen right now that it's next season fixtures. Now, I've got an interesting talking point to start with, which is quite simply a new strategy which I heard on the Planet FPL podcast. Now, I am going to plug their show because it is absolutely, I've got to say, their 30 and 30 podcasts have been absolutely phenomenal. There have been some absolute standout shows. I would highly recommend listening to the Wolves episode, the Manchester City episode, the Tottenham episode, and the Bournemouth one. Those four for me have been real standout episodes. I think the guys that they got on, I apologise that I don't know their Twitter handle, but the guys that they got on to discuss their teams were absolutely fantastic. Real insightful, knowledgeable guys regarding those four respective teams. I mean, don't get me wrong, all the other interviews have been absolutely fantastic, but those four for me have been real standout ones. And I'm just reading that Chris Judge had a few ciders from the Manager of the Month in his cup. Fantastic. I'm glad it's being used. Talking of which, I believe Jason did mention on a live stream about God knows how long ago now, 4, 5, maybe 6 weeks ago now, that simply put, if you haven't received the mug for basically the Manager of the Month award that we were doing, plus the winners, so it would have been, I can't even remember who won now. So I can even check, and I can check in a minute. If you didn't actually receive any of that, we did say for anybody to contact us via Twitter, Instagram, or if you are involved in our dashboard through that. So yeah, hello there, Sultan Saeed. Thank you very much. Sultan there just saying that he thinks the interface is looking great, and I will iterate this point. I'm probably going to say this 1,000 times. I'm absolutely boiling at the moment as well. I don't know why I'm feeling nervous, but I just am. Mainly because I've got a lot to talk about, but I haven't got a lot to talk about. I'm hoping you guys can get involved and really ask me any questions that you want regarding all things fantasy football, whether it's good old, how much do you think so-and-so player will be? Do you think so-and-so will be reclassified? FPL Booner there, gee whiz, hello there. Thank you Chris for the interface comments. Yeah, I just want to say this again, this is all thanks to Jason. This has got nothing to do with me whatsoever. This is just all down to Jason and his hard work that he put in. He spent 2 hours, gee whiz, just saying, don't need to be nervous amongst friends. I know, I just find it weird that there's not much to talk about, but I'm sure as we continue rolling. This is probably going to go on for about 2.5, 3 hours because I've got nothing to do today. But there is a main talking point that I do want to talk about, and as you can see there, I've got the fixtures up on the screen. And on the going back to my point about Planet FPL, and again, I apologise for who this particular individual was, but for anybody that has been listening to the Planet FPL podcast, somebody that they interviewed made the point that the last 5 or 6 fixtures that they were playing in, they were swapping and changing their premium player around so that whoever had the favourable fixture, he would bring them in and then he would captain them and it would pay off. And I believe he said something like out of the 6 weeks it paid off 5 times or something, and I was thinking, that's quite interesting, because some of the research that I did, and here we go, Daily Llama's there, he's going to love this, but my old book, I've just written these up just now, and I was kind of in a bit of panic mode, and I'll explain why in a minute why I was in a bit of panic mode, because something Jason didn't actually show me what to do. I'm sure he did, but all this tech stuff completely went over my head, and he'll be laughing if he's watching this live, or when he watches on the, what do you call it, the replay, that all this tech stuff just goes over my head. But I was a bit panicky because I was thinking, oh god, how do I get the fixtures up? There's no way in hell I can do this without having the fixtures up on screen. But the key, FPL Booner saying I'm wearing clothes to cover up his arms. This is why I'm so bloody hot. But yeah, there was something that I thought about regarding this piece of paper here, which is basically, these are the teams who have in each game week a team in which they are always a flat track bully. The simplest example being Arsenal at home to anybody that are basically, let's be honest here, the equivalent of Sheffield United, Aston Villa, Norwich, etc. They're going to score a minimum of 3 goals. This is based on no actual evidence whatsoever other than what I kind of know off the top of my head. And I was thinking maybe if I looked into every single fixture, which team has a stand-out captaincy option? Now obviously we all know that in game week 1, Liverpool, I'm using it finally, Liverpool are the first stand-out team here to have a flat track bully kind of team to have, so to speak. Now, I'm going to quickly do something as an experiment here where hopefully this will work. It will work, I know it will. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to start interacting by using the website myself. Now I'm completely brand new with this laptop, I barely used it. In fact, the last time I used it was the last time I did a live stream, incredibly. So everything just seems really surreal here. So at the moment I can't actually see chat, but if I make the screen bigger for myself. So yeah, Liverpool on game week 1, in my opinion, have the best. I mean, I'm stating the obvious, everybody's spoken about this already, but Liverpool have the best fixture for opening game week 1 regarding, especially in my case, if they're going to be a flat track bully to anybody, it is going to be Norwich at home. I would expect, and I think most people have already done their predictions already, I would expect them to score a minimum of 3. I mean, I've already predicted 4-0 and there's been no prediction sites or anything. So another really, really favourable fixture, and obviously FPL Booner is in chat at the moment as we speak as a Spurs fan, is Spurs at home to Aston Villa. Again, Spurs at home to quote-unquote rubbish teams, they usually do really, really well. So them and Liverpool, I think, are the best 2 teams to have regarding someone to captain. But I think, let's be honest here, as FPL Booner has just made the point, is, well, Salah and Mane triple captain very viable in game week 1. Yeah. I mean, for anybody that does genuinely see Mane or Salah actually scoring, 2 goals and an assist or whatever, I think go for it. I really do. Don't get me wrong, I hold my hands up, I ain't going to be doing it, but if you've got the cojones to do it, then certainly I would think that them 2 there as a triple captain option is certainly worthy of doing so. I think it was Daily Lama. I can. Can I scroll up on here? Sorry, no, I can't. See, this is something that I don't know what I'm actually doing now. This is when I'm a complete... I don't actually know how to scroll up and down the chat. I'm sure if Jason was here, he'd be able to show me, but I'm not going to... I don't want to break anything, basically. But I do know... I'm sure it was Daily Lama that just said just now, do we know anything about the promoted teams? The simple answer is no. But what I would say is it someone called Simpson for Sheffield United, an attacking fullback? I certainly think that, well, unfortunately, it's almost certain he's going to come in at 5, because my basic understanding is that every time a fullback that has done really, really well the season before in the Championship, they are always priced at approximately... Ender Stevens, thank you, Boona. They're always priced at 5.5. In fact, I remember Trippier when he came up with Burnley 3 or 4 years ago, and it was basically the season that before we sold him to you lot, basically Spurs, and he came in, I think, at 5.5. I can't remember now. He came off the back of 2 goals and 14 assists, and he came in. It was either 5 or 5.5, and I just refused to get him because he was that expensive for basically for a promoted team, because like with most of us, we usually buy defenders within reason for clean sheets, and the attacking is just bonus. But I mean, this season, as every single human being that's in the FPL community talks about, everybody seems to be going with Robertson, TAA, Laporte, Digne, and then a cheap defensive option. I mean, I haven't really thought about anything. I haven't really thought about it, to be honest with you. So FPL Boomers just said that Doherty was 4.5 at the start of the season. He was, but when he came into when Wolves were promoted, he wasn't first teamer. It was I don't know his name. I think it was Douglas. Maybe that's his name, Douglas, that was sold to Leeds. He was their first teamer, and he was sold, and everybody was quite shocked that he was sold, and Doherty was the one that stood up to the plate, as he was backup, I believe. So I think that anybody that's a first teamer as a fullback that gets lots of assists is going to be a minimum of 5.5, especially from a promoted team. So this, unfortunately, this Ender Stevens is one of those where I think that he may not be as good an option as what we all think. I think there's Aarons of Norwich as well. But these teams, they're just going to concede for fun. And I remember I always think of Trippier at Burnley, and the fact that he came in at 5 million. I think at the end of the season he got something like, I'm probably completely wrong here, it may have been 10 assists. In fact, do you know what? FPL Manager is asking when will the season start. Here we go. Maybe I could do a rant now, Lama? Sick. I fully appreciate people that ask this question. I get it. But it's been asked about 50,000 times. But, out respect to you, FPL Manager, for joining in live, the simple answer is this. It's going to start early July. I think, any time between the 5th and the 10th of July is when the game will go live. I believe that the official game will launch some of their prices, like tester prices, towards the end of next week. So maybe this time next week we'll know what price Aguero is, as an example. Because usually, from what I remember, they usually give you like a big name player like Aguero, and then they'll just randomly give you the price of Ashley Young. And all the people in the FPL community are just like, why are you giving us Ashley Young? No one's going to buy Ashley Young. Please give us somebody that we all actually care about. So it's one of those where, so early July is when the game's going to be launched. Sultan Saeed, have you guys got content lined up ready? Right. So, you know what? I may actually write these questions down, and I may actually just focus on one topic. So I seriously think that even for me as a viewer of these podcasts and stuff, I think that when people like me just completely go on random tangents, there's no, especially when it's very difficult when it's a live stream because you're chatting with everybody at the same time. It's very difficult to keep on the same subject matter. So new content from us. Well, the good news, Saeed, is that we have got a lot of very, very interesting projects coming up regarding this podcast. The reality is that we're going to be interviewing members of the community, you guys. So, and trust us, we are not copying what Planet FPL are doing. I think what they're doing is absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, I'll plug their stuff again. If you haven't seen the Planet FPL podcast, their interview with their community, in which they speak and interview to their correspondents of each of their teams, they've been superb, and I highly recommend people watch them. But yeah, we are going to be doing interviews. So basically, once the game launches, we are going to be doing interviews with, well, we've definitely got, FPL Booner lined up for definite. We just need to clarify with him. I know you're there now, but we need to clarify the times and everything. We are planning on speaking to Davey FPL, Capping Gaming, various other, Jack Gleason, John Harris. So yeah, we've got quite a few interviews that we've got planned to come in, but definitely FPL Booner, I've already spoke to the guys, and yeah, we're definitely going to be doing you first, basically. But let's go through what I was talking about originally, which is basically, in my opinion, the teams which are going to, well, basically do over their opposition. So in game week 1, like I said, I think that the best captaincy option, as we already discussed, is going to be either Liverpool or Tottenham. But probably Liverpool, as simply put, they're at home to Norwich, and we know what Liverpool can do. So on to game week 2, I've written down Arsenal. Oh no, sorry, what am I doing here? Yeah, Arsenal are at home to, I'm completely scrolling down the wrong thing here, sorry. Arsenal at home to Burnley. I think that, as ever, Arsenal, again, will score 3 or 4 goals. Man City at home to Spurs. Are you really going to risk a captaincy on a player there? Yeah, but, again, unlikely. You've got Liverpool away at Southampton. Well, it's a good fixture, but again, I'm basing this predominantly on home form. And I just see teams like Arsenal, they just love playing at home, and they love playing these poor teams like us, Burnley. So I think, again, someone like Aubameyang, if he's still at Arsenal, which I don't think he's going to United. I think those rumours are, I don't think they're ridiculous, but United are linked with every footballer on the planet. I mean, funny enough, even when the Manchester United correspondent on the FPL Planet podcast was saying about this, he just thought it was ridiculous when even Salah was mentioned to be going to United. It's just ludicrous. It's just a bunch of clickbaiting, to be honest. So there's a Aubameyang talk, although the Wan-Bissaka talk is interesting. I thought it was pretty much done, and now all of a sudden it's gone all quiet. Daily Armour asking who's not going to United. I don't think Aubameyang. There was rumours, or the talk of Aubameyang 70 million going to United, and I know fellow podcaster J&O in the know, he put out a tweet the other day regarding this, almost basically as if he was quite literally in the know, as if he'd been speaking to Aubameyang, but I can't see that happening, to be honest with you. So yeah, so game week 1, I think Liverpool are the best option. Arsenal, game week 2, a captaincy from their team. Game week 3, it's got to be Man City. Man City, they are at home to... No, they're not. Yeah, they are. No, they're not. What am I doing here? This is ridiculous. Man City away at Bournemouth. Of all the teams there, again, Liverpool at home to Arsenal, I think, actually, from a flat track bully point of view, Liverpool at home to Arsenal is probably a better fixture to captain someone from Liverpool than someone in the Man City team away at Bournemouth. But again, just simply looking at those fixtures directly, Man City away at Bournemouth looks an ideal, especially Bournemouth's defence, who are absolutely awful. Moving on to game week 4, again Manchester City at home to Brighton. They, again at home, they averagely score 3-4 goals against these poorer teams. I can't remember what happened last season. Wasn't that the double game week or something, or am I going completely mad here? Man City at home to Brighton. I can't even remember now. I could easily check in a second, but I mean, Liverpool away at Burnley. Liverpool don't have it that easy at Burnley. It's always really, really difficult, that fixture for Liverpool. Even though the games end like 3-1, 3-0 to Liverpool, they usually score in like the last 2 minutes of the game. So I'm going with Man City again there. Surprise, surprise, in game week 5, I'm going with Man City. They are away at Norwich. If anybody does watch on the replay or is watching now that is a Norwich fan, I'm sorry to say this, I really do think that you're going to get, I think destroyed is a very strong word, but I think you are going to be conceding heavily. I was listening, again, sorry to keep talking about this, but it's just where I'm getting my information from. I was listening to the FPL stat guy on the Planet FPL show, and he made a very valid point that usually, depending on the defensive records in the Championship, you can, don't quote me on this, you could pretty much, so for example, if Norwich, I think they conceded something like 60 odd goals, when they get promoted to the Premier League, the stats show that they will then concede a further, I think it was like 30 or 40% on top of that. And then he joked that they were, based on that ratio, they're going to concede more than Fulham did last year. So they could be the new. Can you remember that last year? It was anybody that's playing Fulham, wasn't it? And anybody playing Huddersfield, captain someone against them. So Man City away at Norwich, I think, is an ideal captaincy pick there against Sterling, Aguero. Moving on to game week 6. I've got it down as Arsenal here. Of course, I've scrolled down a bit too far. Typical, really, isn't it? Yeah. So Arsenal at home to Bournemouth. They do like playing Bournemouth. I'd like to think that at home it should be an easy ride. Again, Liverpool and Man City both at home, but they've got really tough fixtures. So Liverpool at home to Leicester, Man City at home to Wolves. Very hard games there. I mean, again, we can't really call upon Wolves and see how well they do in Europe, to be honest with you, but I would think that Arsenal at home to Bournemouth is probably the best fixture there. Moving on to game week 7, it's Liverpool, flat track bullying. They are. Is it game week 7? Can't be that. I've got game week 7 Liverpool, but I'm probably completely messed up. So this site that I'm using is actually the official Premier League site, but I can't be right. I've messed this up already. How have I messed this up, everybody? That's ridiculous. Problem is that if I make this a bit bigger, so basically what I'm doing here is that I'm going to make the screen bigger for me. I ain't going to do anything for you guys, but it's going to be a bit bigger for me, so I can actually see what I'm basically doing, because everything's so blinking small. Completely lost track where I'm going now. It's brilliant, isn't it? So where was I? Game week 7. This is fantastic, isn't it? Dead air. This is what we need, isn't it? I've completely lost. At least you know what I'm looking at. That's the main thing. So you had Liverpool, number 7. So game week 7, Liverpool away. Game week 8 would be. This is ludicrous, isn't it? So it's Arsenal game week 8. It must be Arsenal game week 8 at home to Aston Villa. That's got to be right. Surely. Yeah, there we are. Yeah, game week 7. Liverpool at home to Newcastle. Sorry about that. That's ridiculous. Yeah. So Liverpool at home to Newcastle. You would think that Liverpool should come out on top of that pretty comfortably, I'd like to think. And like I said, game week 8 is Arsenal versus... Man, this is really annoying. See, like I said, I'm not. When it comes to laptops, I still need to kind of get used to the old, you know what? The pad, the mouse. But it's not a mouse, is it? It's not even a mouse. A mouse is lazier. So, game week 8, Arsenal at home to Aston Villa. That should be easy enough, I'd like to think. Again, shouldn't be too difficult whatsoever. And moving on down. And then I've got it as... I've completely messed this up, everybody. This is ridiculous. I've completely messed up exactly what I'm doing here. This is absolutely crazy. Hold on a minute. Let's get this a lot bigger. Right, so I can't see the chat at the moment. That's okay. That's cool. That's not a problem at all. Right. Thank you. So what's this? That'll be Arsenal game week. See, at least you guys know exactly what I'm doing here. It's not like you're going in blind. So game week 1, we got Liverpool. Game week 2, it's Arsenal. Yep, we get that. Game week 3, Man City. Yep. Game week 4, it's Man City. Game week 5, Man City away at Norwich. Good. Game week 6. Oh, here we go. So, flaming hell, like 2 games ahead. So game week 6, it's Arsenal at home to Aston Villa. I'd like to think there'll be a lot of goals in that. You'd like to think anyway. Game week 7, I've got it as Liverpool. Liverpool away at Sheffield United. That should be pretty easy. Game week 8, Arsenal versus Bournemouth. Here we go. Game week 9. Arsenal away at Sheffield United. Now, I know that Arsenal's away record was appalling last season, but I think, again, against weaker opposition, especially when Liverpool are away at Man U, although you could all joke that actually that's probably a prime fixture for United, for Liverpool, although it has ended 0-0 a lot in recent times. Man City away at Crystal Palace again. Well, then again, actually, yeah, it should be quite an easy fixture for Man City, seeing as, what do you call it, Crystal Palace's home form isn't exactly brilliant. And then, of course, moving on to game week 10, we've got Man City at home to Aston Villa. Should be quite a comfortable victory there. Game week 11, Man City again. They're at home to Southampton. And then, of course, it is then the following fixture, game week 11, which is where I've messed everything up again. What am I doing here? It's all going messed up again. So Man City at home to Southampton, and then the following fixture. Ooh, what's going on here? Wow, this is all going again. All messed up all of a sudden. What are we looking at here? Man City against Aston Villa, that's cool. Oh, this is going well, isn't it, everybody? Brilliant. Well, Saturday the 9th of week beginning... Ooh. So right down the bottom here, not that you can see anything that I'm looking at, on the bottom right, basically, I wonder if people will be able to tell me in chat. That would be interesting. If you could let me know in chat if the quality of the stream is going down, because basically Jason told me that if there's a red and yellow light going off, it basically means that the stream is getting a bit dodgy. Now it's gone back to green. In other words, it's the old internet connection, and there we are. In fact, Daily Llama has made the point I'm missing my PS4. I couldn't agree with you more. It's a lot more easier using a controller, which I can't blink and find at the moment because I don't even use my PS4, and then it is using some Poxy laptop, in which this all helps you guys when it comes to seeing specifically what I'm looking at, but it doesn't help me when I have no idea what, you know, it doesn't help when I don't have a clue what I'm doing. Daily Llama, that's a beautiful question. Thank you, FPL Booner. Booner's just mentioned that there was slight buffering there. Do you reckon, due to the amount of content, twittering, etc., this year, before a ball is in kit, there's a chance that about 3 million managers have the same team? Yeah. Yes, I do. And that's what I hate. Now, could this be a Steve-O rant right now? Who knows? I think the world of fantasy football has just become absolutely ludicrous. I mentioned in the live stream before, talking to Jason and Dan, and I kind of made a slight point about this, that the amount of content that is out there, just tips alone, even just going to websites and everything, even just a basic like algorithm sites that just basically tell you who to pick, for such a small game, and the grand scheme of things, it is a very small game, that there is too much content. I can guarantee you now, I've already said to this, I'm sick to death. I mean, you may have seen, and in fact I can guarantee you saw the poll that I put out the other day on Twitter. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's @EliteFPL. It's basically me that does everything, but I put out a poll the other day, and it just simply said, what question are you more sick to death of reading? And ironically, in fact, here we go, I'll show you something. So I'm going to change the screen now. Jason will be proud of me, what I'm about to do. So I'm now going to bring up Twitter. Okay, so this is the Twitter account. It's not directly the account, that's just the newsfeed, but I'll bring up our profile now, and I will try and remind myself what specifically the poll I actually put up was, because I am fully aware that someone sent in a very funny question to that specific poll, and it did make me LOL. But it was something like, what question are you sick to death? Oh, here we are. What question are you most sick of seeing regarding all things fantasy football? And it's, when is the game launched, or how much do you think X player will be? And someone did write a comment, but I can't even bloody remember if it was directly on that particular question. It was FPL El Clasico who asked the question, and I'm sure, how much time do you think left the game until the game is launched? And I think I'm stating the obvious, but when you play a game which is such a niche, small market. Hiya, Clement LaRue, I'm in chat there. When it's such a small market, if you're able to create content and people are willing to consume it, more and more people are just going to create it. And I've stated this before and I'll say it again, the reason why we started doing this podcast, in fact, I've been doing lots of research. I haven't really been doing that much, but I've been looking back at our previous podcasts and how it was quite literally just me and Dan. This is before we went on YouTube. I don't want to keep banging on about it, but before we went on YouTube, we just did it for our private elite private Torbay Elite mini league. But then Jason got on board saying that he really enjoyed the content and everything, and me and Dan always thought about just putting onto YouTube to see if anybody would watch it, and it genuinely was that classic thing of, people are engaging with us. We weren't expecting this, and then it just blew up from there. And then we created the Elite FPL mini league, and it just took off from there to the point of where next season we are going to be running a cash mini league. So. And then the Torbay Elite stuff is going to be moving to one side, and like we always keep banging on about, we want to create as much of a community as we can with our podcasts, and yeah, and in fact that just reminds me, another Jack Gleason is here. My goodness, hello Jack. Yeah, we want to involve the community as much as possible. We want to, like I said, I keep banging on about it's engaging and stuff, and what I find really ironic is that once I started using my phone correctly and being able to switch screens and everything, if you remember like that, that's when the old live stream went down and we weren't allowed to do it from mobile phones. So then we had to, if you didn't have more than 1,000 subscribers, you had to get a laptop to live stream to anybody. And yeah, like I said, it's just blown up from there, and it's just absolutely, like I said, it's just been crazy. And we don't, I keep banging on about this, me Dan and Jason don't proclaim, we're not tipsters or anything. We just, I think this is what's going to be really cool about next season, and Jack in chat there, again, it's what I love about the community we are building. It's just the simple things. I hope the summer is going well for all, and genuine questions to people. It's not just, who do you think is going to score more points next week? I don't care. I don't know. I don't care. Make your own decision, But the point being is that what we feel like we're building is just fantastic. And like I say, now we got the laptop and everything. It's one of those where we could do technically a solo podcast every day. It ain't gonna be happening. This is just, like I said, this is just for pure test purposes only. And so, like I said, you may notice I'm absolutely sweating. Well, you may not notice, I'm sweating like mad here. I'm boiling hot. I'd love to put the fan on. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this fan on, and if it does affect the sound, please let me know. Don't think it will. It's quiet enough, but please let me know in chat if there is noise affecting everything. But no, this whole experiment here, as an example, has completely failed. Because like I said, I kind of like looking on what's going on in chat, and I feel really rude not looking at it. But then again, the screen here, I mean, you won't notice this, guys, but the screen here in front of me is so small. Yeah, I can make it bigger, and I think I am going to make it bigger just to make me interact more. But the point being of that piece of paper is, like, I am just thinking about doing a different strategy this year where it's going to be really, really difficult because obviously the price of players, but based on, again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but based on what someone said on the Planet FPL podcast, that they were constantly swapping and changing their premium midfielder / striker for another one, and then captaining them against the poorer teams, and it worked for them. It genuinely worked for them. And like I said, I went through all 38 fixtures, and I just came across, it is predominantly Liverpool and Man City and Arsenal that are the flat track bullies. That when at home they just seem to score for fun, and that's when it would be probably best to be captaining Aubameyang or Sterling, Aguero, Salah, Mane, whichever player that you obviously feel the need to, captain for obvious reasons. But if I just quickly bring up the FPL site a second, I don't know about everybody else, but my site is still exactly the same as what it was when I ended. I don't know if everybody else's is refreshing or not, but mine is still exactly the same. There's no difference. I could click on my history. Funny enough, actually, do you know, I'm going to do this actually while you lot are actually in chat, and let's just look at, so as you remember, at the end of the season we all looked at our ranks and everything. It was all doom and gloom, like, why didn't I finish in the top 10 in the world and all this absolute utter nonsense. But I looked at this the other day and I was like, I finished 22,000th in the world. And like I say, funny enough, going on to what Daily Llama said, I said to Dan the other day, today, on a voice message, I was just making a point that because we do think, because this is such a niche market and we listen to the same things over and over, we just assume that the whole world is listening to it. The reality is that no, there's not. And whenever I'm listening to the Planet FPL podcast, the guys will talk to the guests and they'll be like, oh, where did you end up? And they'll be like 50,000, 120,000, 300,000, and you're like, oh, blimey. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the Elite FPL League that we were in, let's bring it up, shall we? Where is it here? The Elite FPL podcast. I know I did it at the end of the season, but now I'm not going to go to Block FPL because we know how ridiculous his season was. When we're talking John Harris as an example, where he ended up 809th in the world in his first ever season, which I genuinely just cannot get my head around. His first ever season in fantasy football, and he ends up 809th in the world. That is just absolutely crazy. And then of course, I can't remember specifically, I mean there's Jack Gleeson there. I think you finished in the top 2,000? Oh, top 3,000, 2,646th. And you were 9th in the Elite FPL Fantasy Premier League. Now, if we're just going to where I was in the Elite FPL Mini League, I'm all the way down in 29th, and I was 22,000th in the world. So all the... Hey, there's Chris Judge. It's funny enough. I'm ahead of Chris Judge. Where's my mug? But all these teams above me, you know, I'm pretty sure that I did it. In fact, I know I did it on the game week review or whatever it was. I can't remember now specifically, but it was something like down to 16th or something. Where in fact, look at that. Someone called Var Maharaj, overall rank 7,452nd, and he was 14th in our mini league. I'll be honest with you, I am absolutely frightened of this cash mini league. I mean, there's FPL Booner there. We'll just quickly, again, another player that won't deny it. He I think feels like he had a bad season, a bit strong, but you know how well he did. I mean, ending the season 3,211th. I mean, I know I did my research on your team the other day, but I mean, that is just crazy. But the point being is that when you surround yourself in such a niche kind of thing, you just assume everybody's like it. The reality is that we're just, I can't remember how many people in the Elite FPL Mini League, but you know, we're just a small, minute number within the 6 million that play the game. But I do think that the more tipster sites, etc. there is, the more teams are going. I mean, Jack Gleeson made a jokey comment above. I saw it just a second ago, saying about we all are previewing and picking our game week 1 team, and I mean, it's the standard answer, isn't it? You know, we can't do anything obviously until the game is launched, but everybody's. I can guarantee you now that when it comes to game week 1, I would say the majority of people, the majority of hardcore players, and I would class the Elite FPL community as those players, i.e. FPL Booner, Jack Gleeson, etc. I think I actually chatting FPL matters when I just decided to give it a run, right? I completely lost my trail of thought now. Oh yeah. I just have this gut feeling that when it comes to game week 1, the majority of hardcore players, we're all going to have the same team. We're all going to have Trent Alexander-Arnold, potentially another Liverpool defender. In fact, if I'm honest with you, we can't get away from FPL. I mean, Clement Leroux makes this point. You can't get away from it, and it's true. That's a nice question there, Clement Leroux. I'll answer that in a minute. Actually, I like that question a lot. But yeah, you just can't give FPL a rest. If you use Twitter a lot, I mean, I'm not normally on the Elite FPL Twitter account scrolling through, to be fair. I put up posts, but I don't scroll through really on the main page. I just use my own personal one, but I don't follow anything FPL really. Let me just write down that question, Clement LaRue, because I like that. Strategies. So basically, Clement LaRue is asking, on a serious note, you know it's serious when people say this, but what are your goals for the 2019 season and changing of strategies? Strategy change and goals for upcoming season. Yeah, I just fear, if I'm honest with you, that most people are going to have the same team. And I said it on the last podcast, I just feel like I'm not going to enjoy it. I mean, this Cash Mini League that we're going to be setting up, and again, we will release details regarding this Cash Mini League when, well, basically once the game launches. We can't do anything until the game launches, but I think we have decided that it will be £10 to enter. So, but all of this we're going to discuss probably in the Discord group, due to some. I mean, Jason's really good with all this, but something to do with you can't really discuss all this stuff on YouTube. Something to do with gambling laws or something. So I don't really want to discuss it on here per se, but all I would say is that just stay tuned. We're not going to just be like, oh yeah, we set it up, give us your money. We will set this all up correctly. I know that Jason will be doing the admin for that, so you'll be basically paying Jason. But I like Clement LaRue's question. What are your goals and possible strategies? Not just for me, it's for anybody that wants to answer the question. But for me, I will say this, and I'll say this every year while I'm playing this game. It's to do, well, I think it's changed for me. It's changed a lot since doing this podcast. I'm not going to lie. It does feel like you have a lot of pressure on you to do well, because it's the whole aurora of, who do you think you are being on YouTube? Who do you think you are giving other people advice? Again, we don't proclaim to give people advice, we just want to show you guys our emotional roller coaster that Brett Mollison, the famous Brett Mollison, who's just vanished off the face of the earth. If anybody's heard from Brett Mollison, tell him that we are thinking of him. But so the Daily Llama has just asked this, and just taking me back. How fun could it be if FPL put their prices up based on players bought into teams before the season starts? If you get a player on launch day, he could be dearer come game week 1. Yeah. Ha! So, for example, I don't know, Jack Grealish. I'm assuming what you mean is Jack Grealish for Aston Villa. He'd probably be 6.5 anyway, but he'd be 6.5. But if he went to Spurs, as an example, he moves up to 7.5. Is that what you mean, Daily Llama? But yeah, I think for me, my personal goal is, well, it always has been to do really well, to basically win the Torbay Elite Mini League. But things have changed now, and that's kind of taken a sidestep, and I've taken a step back from that now. I'm more concentrating on, well, making this podcast as good for you guys as possible. Hiya, Vince Chapman. Good afternoon. You're in an experiment podcast. Have any feedback on the layout, the sound, etc.? Please let me know, Vince. Most people have said it's perfectly brilliant. But you're just part of an experiment at the moment. So, and I was right with Daily Llama. He was referring to the fact that if a player is on one team, so a poorer team, but then he goes to another team before game week 1, the price could be increased. That would be mad. But yeah, I want to make this. I concentrate more on this podcast now and make it actually good for you guys, and also, like I said, it's the fact that we are going to be doing an elite. Cheers, Vince. Vince just saying it's beautiful. Thank you. Thanks to Jason, Vince. To be honest with you, I don't want to keep saying that, but I have to. Yeah. So I think that when we launch the Elite FPL Cash Mini League, I think the fact that it's going to be with you guys, I think that it's going to be even more pressurised. I think. I mean, I've had FPL Bundes team up here the whole time. I personally think that with the standards, could you imagine, for example, now don't get me wrong, I think that the amount of people that are going to enter our Cash Mini League at a random guess would be between 10 and 20 people. 3 of them is going to be me, Dan and Jason. So let's say another 17 people are going to join the Elite FPL Mini League. Well, Jason obviously finished as high as he did. In fact, where did Jason end up? I can't even... Oh, there he is, there. So Jason finished, let's just say, finished 4th in the Elite FPL Mini League. Overall, he finished 1,300th. 1,369 to be precise. That's just crazy. That is just absolutely nuts, I think. Even for him, he admits it himself, like every preview. I mean, if we just quickly bring up his gaming history, as you will see, we've joked about it before, but he has never, ever had anything quite like this in his life. I mean, look, you're talking last season, or the season before, 300,000, 2 millionth, 1 millionth. Just mad. And then to go up to all the way to 1,300, and then even when you're not even talking his specific team here, the quality of players in this league is just absolutely crazy. And I think I'm going to feel the pressure a lot. It's not going to be quite as bad as the Tour Elite, because the Tour Elite is the heart and soul, but I think as we progress through the season, and the fact that we're going to be discussing this Elite FPL podcast and the mini league, and the fact that you guys will be involved, and like I say, there's money at stake, I'm going to be feeling the pressure. And I mean, going on what, I've completely forgotten the person's name now, that's ridiculous. Clement LaRue. Sorry, I've completely forgotten your name there. And there he is. So Clement LaRue even mentioning, screen we see is still Twitter. Ah, there we are. Thank you, Daily Llama. Brilliant. Right, so Jason warned me of this. So basically what's happened, so Daily Llama is telling me that all you can see is the Twitter page. My apologies. Right, so the reasoning is right, so down the bottom left of my screen, there's a few little buttons to press. Now if I do this, you should see what I'm looking at. Am I right? Vince Chapman, oh dear, you've broken a rule. Vince Chapman has broken the rule of asking the question, when does the game launch? That question's been banned. No, it's going to be early July. It's a fact. It's going to be something like between the 5th and the 10th of July, and then at some point next week, I would guess between the 28th and the 30th, they're going to be throwing us the odd name. We're going to be the game is going to be giving us players' prices, basically. You know, it's usually something ridiculous like Aguero will be the first name out of the hat, and everybody's like, oh my god, this is amazing, can we get Trent Alexander? And they'll give you someone like Ashley Young or some rubbish like this. It's really weird the way that the game does it. I mean, sometimes, wasn't it last year that they gave us, I mean, I know, don't anybody correct me on this because I know I'm wrong, but it was somebody like Stuart Downing they released first, and everybody just kind of like, why are you giving us Stuart Downing for? We don't care. All we care about is like the big players. So I'm wondering if the official game, because what I have noticed with the official Twitter page, official FPL Twitter page, is that they do get very interactive with his audience, and I'm thinking maybe that they may listen to them more and actually release the big name players like Trent Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, etc. I mean, some people are thinking that Trent and Robertson could be up. Well, Robertson could be 8. I mean, someone on the Planet FPL said, I think they were saying it tongue in cheek, they were saying like 8.59. That ain't going to be happening. I think that at the end of the day, the game needs people to play it, and if people get priced out of getting the more popular players, they're not going to want to play. So they want as many people to play as possible. And I've already spoke to death about this, I don't want to keep talking about it, but Robertson is going to come in at 7.5. It's about as obvious as a punch in the face. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think that I've completely lost. Oh yeah, Trent Alexander-Arnold's going to be about 7.5. That's easily, that's about as obvious as it gets. Salah will continue staying at 13 million. I'm more interested in players like Kane, if I'm honest with you. I wonder how much of a drop he'll get. I don't think it'll be much. I think it'll be like 11.5, 12. Oh yeah, I forgot I was on that screen. Thanks for reminding me. So we can even look at, if we go to the transfer section and we bring up, I mean, look at this. People could be tuning in live now, going, "What's going on here? The game's launched." In fact, why don't I retweet it now? In fact, ironically, I could do it now. That's the messed up thing about it. But yeah, Elite FPL have got exclusive. Oh, wait a minute. Something's going wrong here. What's going on? Why isn't this working for? Oh, that's interesting. I can't actually click on that. Ah, okay, fair enough. I'm learning something there. I wonder if you can click on the players. Well, there's Kane. I wonder if I can click on his information. Yeah, I can. So Kane. Now normally there's a button here to tell you how much he started at. Can't seem to see it anywhere. That's interesting. Normally you can scroll across, unless I'm being complete idiot, which I probably am, to be honest with you. Normally you can scroll across that way, but there's no option to give me that way, so I can't see where he started, but I'm pretty sure it was 12.5 last year. I'm sure someone could correct me in chat, but I'm pretty sure that would be the case. I mean, people like Wilson's going to be an interesting one. I mean, someone mentioned him earlier on, doubling up with him and Fraser. That would be interesting. I mean, I kind of went through the most basic draft teams possible, and Fraser and Wilson did come into my thought process, but I just think they're just going to be too expensive. I think Fraser at 7.5 playing for Bournemouth, I think it's just so much money, and can he replicate what price he had, or what he did last year? I have no idea. Obviously no one will know. Wilson, I think Wilson will come in at 8 million next year. I can't see well, obviously he's not going to drop in price. He came in at 7.5 last year, but again he plays for Bournemouth, so 8 million, maybe 8.5 for Wilson. 5th highest scoring striker in the game. I mean, Aubameyang, he's going to be, 12 million this season. I think he could be priced out of the game. Aguero's going to be 12.5. Lacazette's going to be an interesting one, but he'll probably go up to 10. But I mean, going on what Clement LaRue said about strategies, and I saw someone mention they may be going 5-3-2. I was thinking, what was I thinking? A 4-5. Would that make sense? Yeah, a 4-5-1. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking of maybe going 4-5-1. So here we go. I'm doing it again, aren't I? Trent, Robertson, Laporte, Digne, and then a cheap budget defender. And then you're going to be, Sterling, Mane. I'm not even talking about budgets here. I'm not interested. Sterling, Mane, Maddison, maybe Milivojevic. and Deulofeu, I don't know, and then up front a premium striker in Aubameyang, or maybe go down that budget option in Wilson or Jimenez. I mean, Jota's somebody that people are interested in, even if he's a forward and he may come in at 7 million, he could be worth a bit of money. Again, the Wolves correspondent on the Planet FPL was saying that he's worried about Europe affecting their team, but they've got a bit more in depth to their squad, unlike us lot, Burnley, which basically don't buy anybody, play the same team week in, week out, and we're just exhausted. But yeah, I certainly think next season, strategy-wise, is going to be really, really interesting. If you refresh it, you can change the players in. I don't even know how to refresh it, to be honest with you. Vince Chapman's just saying that there. I don't think you can do anything here, Vince. To be honest with you, it's not even do anything. To be fair. Oh well. Yeah. So I think next season there's going to be a lot of interesting strategies regarding formation, because I just think the prices are going to be so high. Clement Roux kind of already answered it regarding goals at the end of the season. I think getting anywhere near what I did this season would be an absolute miracle, if I'm honest with you. Getting to 22,000 alone is absolutely phenomenal. I think certainly building on a good start. But again, next season, what we're talking, you're talking 3 City, based on the fixtures next season, the opening fixtures, everybody's already talked about it. You're talking 3 City, 3 Liverpool, a couple of Everton, so that's already 8 players, and then you just put in your dots and tick the T's and whatever that saying is, and yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what people's strategies are. But unfortunately, I think I press F5. Right, here we are. This is what we want to do. Right, let's see if this works. So if this all fails, everybody, we blame Vince Chapman. F5. Oh, wait a minute. We want to go on the transfers bit, don't we, first? See if this works. F5. Nah, nothing's happened. No, nothing's happening, Vince. That's a no-go, I'm afraid. But yeah, I think that everybody's strategy is going to be the same. I think everybody that tunes into various FPL content are all going to be choosing virtually. I can guarantee you now that I may be one of them. A lot of people are going to be tuning into the guys FN plus F. I'm not even going to attempt any of this. Could you imagine if I tried some of the stuff that you're asking me to do and it just completely crashes everything? Thank you though, for your help. Yeah, I think that anybody that did well last season, let's pick a name out of the hat, Davey FPL. Everybody's going to tune into him and they're just going to copy him. They are just going to copy his team no matter what he does, because he did so well last year. Don't get me wrong, he could win it this year. And I'll be right behind him, supporting him the whole way. But it just goes back to Dalai Lama's point. That is this game going to become a point where everybody just copies everybody? And like I said, when we're doing this live next season, all of us lot are going to be competing with each other. So whatever we talk about, it could work in 2 ways. We could either, for example, I could say, let's just say, for example, for argument's sake, FPL Boone is top of the Elite FPL Cash Mini League. I'm 6 points behind him. We have virtually the same 15, barring the odd differential. And I say live on air, right then, Oh, Jason's here. Jason the King is here. I will say something along the lines of, well, Liverpool are at home to Arsenal. I think that Salah is going to destroy Arsenal. I'm going to captain him. And FPL Boona listens to that and goes, right, I wasn't thinking of captaining him, but I'm going to block him. Salah captain. And yeah, I agree. Vince Chapman there saying copying isn't really playing. I think the top players are obvious, but the systems and fringe are where champions are. I couldn't agree more with Vince there. I think that you've got to play this game properly. You've got to enjoy it. You've got to play it your own way. Don't get me wrong. I mean, again, it goes back to the whole thing of people that are watching this right now, people that will watch this, people that take in FPL content. Unfortunately, we all try and be too clever, I think, and certainly going on what Clement Roux said earlier about strategy, something that I'm definitely going to be doing next season is going on my gut instinct. A lot of things that I didn't do last season were based on... In fact, Capping Gaming made the point in that wonderful live stream that we did at the last day of the season. That was fantastic, that was... When I rewatched that, actually, when I watched that Capping Gaming episode, when he just randomly joined us, me and Jason live on the last day of the season, he just said, you know what guys, I'll join you if you want. And I thought that the content that he gave us, the insight and everything was absolutely superb. And for anybody that's brand new watching this, anybody that's never seen this stuff before, I highly recommend watching the last day of the season with Capping Gaming. The last 30-40 minutes with Capping was, in my opinion, some of the best content I've heard on a fantasy football podcast, because it was I don't want to speak out of turn, well, not out of turn, but I don't want to speak on his behalf, but there was real emotion coming from him. I thought it was fantastic. I thought what he was saying was real brilliant insight into to moving forward with all this content. And I just think that, you know, like Vince Chapman is saying, Clement Roux, etc., that copying people is just an absolute waste of time. You just got to play it in your own game. You really do have to play this your own way, and by going and like Capping Gaming said to me, he was just like, I think the issue with what you had, Steve, was the fact you were just concentrating so much on what Jason was doing, rather than concentrating on what you were doing. And I was just sat there nodding and agreeing, going, yeah, you're right. I screwed up my own game. I mean, I'll even show you. We can all see where it all started to fail in my history, where I was at a point in the season where I ended up, and I can't even find where I'm going now. Where am I? Here we are, view Game Week history. I was up to 4,000th in the world or something at some point. Yeah, there we are. I was up to Game Week 29, I was 4,000th in the world, whatever. And it's just a sea of red. I get a couple of green arrows, but just dropping like a stone. Because why? Because I thought I'd be clever. And I thought I'd not copy Jason, but I thought that whatever Jason did, I had to counter it. I'm stating the obvious. This is how you play the game anyway. Like I say, there was somebody on the Planet FPL podcast where they mentioned, I think I must have plugged that pod about 1,000 times now, but someone on there was, I think he was like 20,000, and at the end of the season ended up 150,000th. So I mean, I thought I had it bad, but there are, like I said, there are people out there which, you know, have had horrific ends to the season. But yeah, so at Game Week 29, like I said, you know, up to 4,000th in the world. I mean, I'll tell you what I'm going to do deliberately. I'm just going to pick a name out of the hat here. So I'm going to choose FPL Buna, because FPL Buna to me is somebody that I think to me is almost like a similar player, I reckon. Let's have a quick look at where he was in game week 29. Would it be ironic if he was a lot further ahead of me even then? Well, I'm pretty sure that Buna was actually quite... Here we are. So he was 12th. Wow, look at that! That's incredible. So FPL Buna, game week 29 was 12,000th. And then the following game week, this will bring back memories. I wonder what happened there. So game week 30, FPL Buna moved up by 8,000 places and went up to from 12,000, well nearly 13,000th, all the way down to all the way up to 4,000 in game week 30. He got a whopping 89 points. Sterling got 21 points. What did he do? Wow. So this is when they went, oh, was this the hat-trick one? Yeah. Wow. Who else did he have in his team? It's always interesting when you look back. Rondon on the bench and played Chicharito. It's funny when you do all this in hindsight, isn't it? Wow. Mane with well, let's see what Mane did. Mane and Vardy was his big hitters as well. So what was the Liverpool score? Who did they beat? So Leicester won 3-1. Vardy getting 2 goals and an assist. And Liverpool, they beat us. Ah, yeah, that's right. 4-2. Mane with 2. You just see the name Sturridge there. Jesus. He's gone now. Vidra, Burnley. Christ, they'll be going. These two will be interesting to choose from. Gudmundsson and Westwood. I wonder if Dan will be going with Westwood. Gudmundsson may come down in price, or he may stick to the same price actually. He'll have the greatest of seasons. Where are we? Yeah, and I mean for FPL Buna, from that point onwards, so really, game week 29 was almost Buna's upside. Yeah, the complete opposite to what I had. So Buna went from 12,000th and then by game week 38 ended 3. I mean, that is incredible. That is extraordinary, going from basically 7,000th in the world to 3,000th in 2 game weeks. Game week 38, 94 points. Let's remind ourselves why that was again. I remember him on the chat actually. Look at that. Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, yeah. Captain Mane. Zaha, yeah, of course. I'm hoping Zaha gets reclassified as a midfielder actually. That'd be really, really interesting. And I wonder if Zaha at, what will it be next season, what, 7 million midfielder? Who would you take, Zaha or Fraser? Especially if, like I said, if Zaha's a midfielder, that would be really, really interesting to look at. Also still raging, Zaha 3 assists but 0 bonus points in game week. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I'm like you, sometimes I hold grudges against players. Sometimes I actually refuse to do it. Vince Chapman, I'm going to do a top 5 do's and don'ts I've learnt from last season, stick to them, like no early... Yeah, I like that, like no early transfers, bandwagons, rage... Yeah, brilliant, I like that. I think, for me, early transfers is a no-no. I think it's an absolute waste of time. I think worrying about missing out on 0.1, that bit me on the backside last year. I did a lot of early transfers and I wish I hadn't. Cost it. I mean, if you remember when I did that 16-point hit, and then you lot told me no, don't do it, do the free hit, and it turned out to be the best. Well, one of the best things I did. But that was all down to doing early transfers. Bandwagons, couldn't agree more. I think the most famous one we all know of is when Richarlison got, what was it, red carded or injured, and everybody went on Walcott. I was one of those people. Did he do anything? Nope. Did absolutely nothing. Range transfers I don't normally do. I don't actually get caught up in the range transfers. I'm pretty good with that. However, I know Dan does do the odd range transfer here and there. So maybe that's something that he may not want to do. But Jack Gleeson, another one, did so well. I mean, let's just remind ourselves last year. I mean, Jack Gleeson has been a supporter of our podcast almost since day one. And I'll never forget when we saw where he was in the world, as you can see on screen now. And I'll never forget when we did the interview the first time with him. We always kept banging on about the number 225 because that's where he was in the world at the time or something like that. And yeah, look at that. Yeah, there it was, 225th in the world, and that was in game week 23. But look where he was. I just think it's absolutely nuts when you have a player like Jack Gleeson in your league, your mini league, and he was 58th. I mean, when you look back at all of this, and I don't want to keep harping on about it, but going all the way back to when we started the Elite FPL Mini League, and to think that we had players of this high quality in our Mini League, and Jack Gleeson being up there in 58th, and I'll never forget that time when I was when I was following him on, well, I was following his his page on here, and on a Saturday evening he was 22nd in the world. I just can't comprehend that. I mean, I know we had him on the show and everything. It was an absolute, again, fantastic interview, really, really fun interview, and he just couldn't believe it. And it was the same with a lot of people that we had on, where their overall goal was to, like, whatever it was at the start of the season. In his case, it was to be top of the Irish overall league, and I don't think did he come first overall? No, he ended up 103rd overall. But of course he had that famous game week where something happened, where the theory was that someone had, what's the word I'm looking for? I completely forgot. Sabotaged, hacked into his account and used his wildcard game week 34. If you remember, as you can see there, 34 points, and he went from 3,000th down to 10,000th, and yet ironically the preceding 3 weeks after, I mean, look at that, 133 points. What in God's name is going on here? But yeah, the preceding 3 weeks ends up to, well, 2.5, just under 2.5, just over 2,500. But yeah, in game week 34 played his wild card, and this was his team, and me and Jason were just looking at us like just gobsmacked. And there was this captain of Ward Prowse, and look at that on his bench as well. Fraser, Wilson. It's just whatever happened there. It's like any conspiracy theories, we'll never know. But let's have a quick look at that. 133 points, and let's just see what on earth got him that amount of points, because that is just absolutely nuts. 133 points in game week 36. Did 36? Yeah. Absolutely outstanding. Triple cap. That was the week that it was Huddersfield. That's right. Was it 5-0? It was 5-0, wasn't it? To Liverpool. That's right. 5-0 on the Friday evening. Yeah, and I did that. That's right. I did that solo podcast where I where I bought in. That's right. I bought in Salah and someone else for a minus. It felt. Why don't I just show you? But just to quickly show you Jack's team for Game Week 36. I mean, that is amazing. And then of course you see. I mean, that alone on the bench is amazing for a bench boost in Leno with 4 points, Fraser 5 and Pereira with 10. That's crazy, but look at that. Extraordinary. But yeah, that's right. So if we look at my team a second. And in game week, so it's Game Week 36. Let's do it from here actually. I bought in Salah. That's right, and I did a YouTube video on that. Now, if we go to transfers, wherever that is, it's the transfer bit on here. Right, here we go. Game Week 36. Here we are. Eriksen and Firmino out for Salah and Calvert-Lewin. Yeah. What a transfer. And it was for a -4 as well. That's right. Wow. That's nuts. And that paid off so well for me. That kind of... But again though, at the time it did nothing for my rank to close on Jason from what I remember. Summed up my season, to be honest with you. Constantly, anything I did, Jason's players would just either assist. Yeah, that was it. It was either my players would assist his or his players would assist mine, but always his players would end up getting the bonus points. And I'd always just end up... And that, I was saying to Dan again privately on a voice message about doing some research, and it was Game Week 7. And it was so weird watching this particular video and where I was second in the Torbay Elite Mini League, and I was saying how Jason was only 20. I was only 21 points behind Jason. Look how that turned out. I think it ended up with me. In fact, let's find out quickly. I ended up 100 odd points behind him in the end. Where is it here? Yeah, 106 points in the end. That's ridiculous. A 21 point gap turned to 106 points. That is incredible. It's going to be so interesting to see how Jason goes next year. I don't think there was someone hacking into your account. Yeah. I was wondering what you two guys were on about. So Vince Chapman and Clement Roux are just talking about the fact that why would anybody hack into someone's account, and can't imagine anything worse. Unfortunately, these things sadly happen. I mean, Jack's phone may not have been on private, and they just opened up his phone, knew he was doing well on fantasy football, and just I don't know. No one will know unless whenever we arrange a potential interview with Jack to get his thoughts on FPL for next season, etc. We've got to get to the bottom of this. It would just be fascinating to find out what on earth happened. For all we know, he could say, no, there's no conspiracy, it was just my own, I just thought I'd be really, really clever. Well, it turned out that he wasn't actually that far off wrong based on what we've just seen. So, yeah, I mean, if anybody's got any questions in the chat about anything really, I can happily talk for a bit longer if you want me to. If not, I'll happily just sign off. Well, I sound not too fussed. I'm very, very tired. I was at a gig last night, so I'm absolutely... I only got 4.5 hours sleep, so I kind of want to go to bed soon. But no, just a few thoughts ahead of Game Week 1 really, and based on some of them, like Clement Roux's thoughts and Vince Chapman's thoughts on the upcoming season. I think it is going to be a lot more difficult to avoid quote-unquote tipsters advice sites. I think if you do participate in our Cash Mini League next season, I think it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. I think next season's podcast is going to be a lot more interactive than normal because we're going to be participating in the Cash Mini League. Now, just to clarify, we're not suggesting for 1 minute that the Elite FPL Mini League is going to be... So this one here, this Elite FPL Mini League is still going to be open and public. So this is completely free. This is going to be the normal standard mini league that we all will be participating in, and it'll be free. But me, Dan and Jason come up with the idea that, well, I don't even think it was me, Dan or Jason. I think it was either one of John Harris, Daily Llama or FPL Boona that suggested any thoughts on the Cash Mini League. I then suggested to the other two, Dan and Jason, and they agreed that would be really, really fun. And we thought, why do we want to be talking about a league that nobody's part of that watches this, when in reality we should be talking more about the Elite FPL community? And we thought, do you know what, to have a league where something's at stake here would be a lot more fun. And I just can't wait for next season. I think that the Cash Mini League is going to create a lot of rivalry, a lot of fun, which is the key thing to all of this. I think the conversations in the chat and everything are going to be more and more expansive, because we'll all be checking out other people's teams and seeing the kind of strategies and tactics we've got to do to try and, excuse the pun, but block FPL. Block each other's off and everything. And yeah, it is going to be really, really interesting. I think the majority of people have already come up with, I mean, let's do it now, shall we? So if we were to go with what, 2 4.5 goalkeepers, so that's what, 9 million. So 4.5, that's 9. Okay, so whoever that may be. Now you could go with a 5 million and a 4 million for the same price. So Fabianski, he'll be 5 million. It's pretty obvious that Fabianski is going to be 5 million next season. So unfortunately we can't be having him on wherever. But thanks Boona for tuning in. Can't thank you enough for just joining me live for the few minutes. So yeah, cheers Boona, thank you. So Fabianski is going to be 5, and he is one of the better goalkeepers in the game. So for save points and everything, I think having 2 4.5s is probably better than having 1 and a 4 million, in my opinion. And then you're going to be talking what, TAA at 7 million. Let's just actually 7.5. Robbo at 7.5. Laporte 6.5. Although I was thinking maybe Zinchenko. Let's just put Zinchenko in there. Let's just say Zinchenko is 6. Let's just say 6 million. Digne, he's going to be 5.5. Possibly 6, but I reckon 5.5 due to the fact that he plays for Everton. And then let's just say we go with some nobody 4 million defender. So that's a 4 million. So straight away, if we do the maths there, we're talking TAA and Robbo, that's 15 in total. This is based on my predictions of what they'll be. Let's go with the cheaper City defensive option in Zinchenko at 6. So plus 6, plus Digne at 5.5, and then a 4 million cheapie. So that's 30.5. So we're already at 39.5, and that's just the defence alone. So 30.5. So in midfield, if we're thinking absolutely logically here, okay, Clement Leroux thinking he'll be 6. That's Digne thinking Digne will be 6. Yeah, I 5.5, 6. I think we're pretty much nailed it there. Midfield, so you'd be a fool not to have Mane or Salah, but if we're thinking logically, most people will go with Mane. Mane's going to be what? 11.5. Let's go with 11.5. No, let's go with, because he kind of similarly did what Sterling did last year, so that's what, 11. So let's go with 11. Sterling, he'll be 12, but then we're all thinking logically, so let's go with Kevin De Bruyne. So we all want a Man City midfielder, and Kevin De Bruyne, for his output, I reckon 9.5 based on last year. So KDB, 9.5, because we're not going to be wanting, well, we'll do the maths in a minute. And then, shall we say Richarlison? Richarlison, because you're wanting a Everton midfielder, and Richarlison always starts off the season well, so I'm thinking logically here, so I'll go Richarlison. I reckon he's going to be, what, 7.5, 8 million? I'll go with 7.5. So there's your 3, and then I was thinking off the top of my head, maybe some real cheapy midfielders, someone like, for example, Robbie Brady of Burnley or Goodmanson or something. So if we were to say maybe getting in 2 5 million playing midfielders, if we're going to be going with a 4-5-1, a 4-4-2, something like that. So what's that? 11. I know this isn't the greatest of all, what do you call it? Let's just bring up a screen in which people may be actually interested in. Yeah, I like that. Clement LaRue saying Salah 13, yeah, 12 million for Sterling, absolutely, 8 million for Sigurdsson. Oh, I reckon he may be 8.5. 4.5 for McNeil. I reckon McNeil's going to be 5 actually, and JWP, yeah, 5 million, I couldn't agree more. Will you get Jota? Yeah, just mentioned him earlier on actually, Vince. I reckon he'll be a forward next season. So we're talking what, 11 plus 9.5 for Kevin De Bruyne, plus 7.5 for Richarlison, and then equals, that's 38 million. So what's that? 38 million plus 30.5 plus 9 equals, so for the midfielder and defence alone, on the most basic of structures, is up to 77.5 million, which leaves us with 22.5 million to spend on strikers. Well, if you're going to be playing this game, so let's just go with a 4-5-1. And I mean, Vince Chapman bringing up Jimenez there, 8 million, yeah, of course, he'll be 8.5. So let's just say we do go with a mid-price strike in him. Let's just say Jimenez for argument's sake. So that's what? 22.5 minus 8. Let's just say 8.5. I reckon it'll be 8.5. That leaves us with 14. So Jimenez 8.5. So you've got 14 million to spend. And then, do you know what? Actually, this might not be as difficult. Again, this is my point. Everybody's going to be doing this. In the sense of all these YouTube channels and podders are going to be doing exactly the same here. In the sense of all these same old strategies. And yeah, Daily Llama there thinking goalkeepers 9 million, yeah, agreed. Defensive defenders at 30 million total. Again, that's what we've pretty much done here, 30.5. Midfield, you're going with 41 million. Yeah, again, this is my point. So at the moment, we've got 14 million to play with. And if you're going with a 4-5-1, and you're thinking, well, the one striker that I'm really not interested in, I'm only interested in one striker, so let's just go with 2 4.5s. That leaves you with 4.5. So that's what? 14 minus 9. 14 minus 9 equals 5. So that gives you an extra 5 million if you were to do something like this, which means then you could turn a McNeil or a JWP into a 10 million player, or you could upgrade Richarlison or Kevin De Bruyne to Sterling or Salah with that 5 million extra. This game's easy, isn't it? Blimey. Yeah, it won't happen though. I know what's going to happen here. I think it's like Andy, Let's Talk FPL, says all the time. We all talk about starting the seasons with a 4-5-1, a 5-3-2, a 3-5-2 and all this, but players being Kane, all these various formations, then we end up with 3-4-3. Couldn't agree more. Clement LaRue asking a nice question. Steve, would you be happy with the core of your players being Kane, Salah, Sterling, Siggy and TAA? I wouldn't have Sigurdsson. I'd rather have Richarlison. But yes, I get the point of what you're saying. I wouldn't have... Would I have Kane? A bit like Boona, really. I'm kind of like anti-Kane in a way, the way he was for me last season. I wouldn't have Kane either, but the point was standing. If I was to have a premium striker, it would be either Aguero or Aubameyang, or maybe Lacazette. So one of them three is my main striker. Salah, I mean, he's a world-class player at the end of the day. Yeah, absolutely, I'd have him. Sterling, absolutely another world-class player. Sigurdsson, I've just made the point. Trent Alexander-Arnold, absolutely stunning for the points that he was bringing in last season. So many, Vince Chapman saying, so many top defenders. Van Dijk, Robertson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Laporte, Maguire. He moves to, I don't know about Maguire, I wouldn't worry about him, but certainly I couldn't agree more. I think that, like we've already discussed, or I made the point with all these the opening fixtures being for Liverpool. I can't remember specifically who they've got now. The opening first. In fact, yeah, I do. What am I on about? Got it all written down here. I'm going mad. I keep forgetting I've got other pieces of paper in here. So yeah, what were Liverpool's opening fixtures? It's all written down here, to be honest with you. The simple answer is Liverpool. So Liverpool's home fixture, opening fixtures, opening 5. Norwich at home. You would think they'd keep a clean sheet. Southampton, nah, I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet there. Arsenal at home, no, I don't think they would. Burnley, us away, I think they should, and Newcastle at home, I think they would as well. Although Burnley away actually is tough, so actually no. I would say of the top of Liverpool's first opening 5 fixtures, they'll keep 2 clean sheets. Man City, West Ham away, it's always 4-0, so there's 1. Tottenham at home, yes, I can see a clean sheet there. Bournemouth away, yes. Brighton at home, yep. And Norwich away. So I could see Man City getting maybe 4 or 5 clean sheets out of 5. And then, of course, you've got teams like Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham. But you never know with those teams. I mean, Arsenal, just a waste of time. United again. They can win games, but they don't seem to be able to keep clean sheets. Chelsea are an interesting one. No one seems to mention Chelsea, but again, with Hazard leaving, people are a bit concerned. Can they really do anything without him there? But their opening fixtures are actually really good, barring United away. And even then, I wouldn't find that a scary fixture. Leicester at home, Norwich away, Sheffield United at home, and then Wolves away. I think they're flaming 4 cracking fixtures. And of course Tottenham, Aston Villa at home, you'd like to think there'd be a clean sheet there. I'm seeing that as like a 2-0. I don't know why. 2-0 just seems to stick out to me there. Man City away. Newcastle at home. You'd like to think again another clean sheet there. Arsenal away and Crystal Palace at home. Again, what's the standard result, as the history always says? It's Crystal Palace 1-0 to Tottenham. But no, I agree. Vince Chapman saying that don't invest in United. Old and slow and Solskjaer can't train them any good. I couldn't agree more. I absolutely couldn't agree more. I think, everybody, I'm going to leave it there. I think the experiment's done. I think that there are a few things I just need to clarify with Jason about, which he'll easily, happily clarify with me. It won't be too difficult at all. It's been really enjoyable. I don't have a clue how long I've been going on for. Like I said, this has just been a pure experiment for the future of the Elite FPL solo podcasts. I did speak to Jason when we were doing this earlier on that we'll try and get, well, there's no trying about it, we will get Dan up on this setup. We'll get Jason obviously up on this setup as well. So whenever those two want to do a random sporadic solo podcast ranting or just discussing their own teams, I think having this set up here would be absolutely ideal. I just think it looks absolutely superb. I really appreciate the fact that you enjoy the setup basically. Apologies for the slight technical issues earlier. Like I said, I'm a complete technophobe when it comes to all this and all these menus and everything. But the more and more, as I was stating the blinking obvious, the more and more I use this, the more and more I get used to it, and the easier it becomes. We're really going to be trying to do a lot with you guys over the next few weeks. It's really all going to be kicking off. We did, again, sorry to keep harping on about it, but me and Jason, or I made the point that I think once we start getting player prices trickling out from the game, I think that we'll probably do a podcast then. I think that once we get a basic idea of how much, for example, if the first name out the hat that they decide to release is Robertson and he came in at 7.5, I think at that point everybody can get will have a general idea of how much everybody else will be. So for example, players like Aguero, you would think, yeah, he's probably going to be 12 then. Aubameyang is probably going to be 11.5, 12. I think when you get to know the price of the player that a lot of people are wondering how much he'll be, once you get that direct information, you know exactly how much that will be, then that's when you can kind of pretty much give an accurate guess on how much every other player would be, to be honest with you. That's my thought anyway. Pool fans, hello there. We will be able to form a Fantasy Premier League team in approximately 2.5-3 weeks. So I would say for definite, so it's the 30th next week. The game is going to be launched early July. So I would say, so whether people are aware of this or not, then very good there, Vince Chapman just jokingly saying, well, I say it's a joke, it could be the most serious question of his life. How am I going to handle the future with all this smart tech, AI, sex robots, etc.? I can't. I barely even use my phone. I hate using my phone. So how on earth I'm going to use a laptop that's been around since flaming 2000? Well, I don't know how long it's been around for, but I can't, mate. It's the simple answer. I'm just going to get Jason to do everything for me. But yes, whether people are aware or not, on the 13th of July, there is a get-together from the guys who do the Who Got the Assist podcast. And that's going to be down in Marylebone in London, posh end of London. Now, I believe it is a open to all invitation. So anybody that follows the Who Got the Assist guys on Twitter, you will be able to see their tweet that they put out. In fact, why don't I show you? Why don't I just quickly show you exactly what they put up. So if I bring up Twitter at the moment, here we are, Jason. I'm learning. Here we are. Hopefully that's working for you guys there. It should be up and running. Yep, there we are. Brilliant. Right. So if I go to the home screen and bring up Who Got the Assist, I'm sure it'll be up there. What's going on here? Right, so there we are. Who Got the Assist? It decides to load up. Right, here we are. So they put out a tweet. This was ages ago though. Can't even remember when it was. But they put up a tweet basically about Oh, here we are. Is this here? Yeah. There we are. So you can see it right there. So the London #FPL Summer Meetup, Saturday 13th of July, 3 p.m. till late at the Sports Bar and Grill in Marylebone. As it says there, hope to see as many people as possible. I'm personally, it's going to be difficult because it's on a Saturday and I work on Saturdays, but I'm personally planning on going along for a bit of for networking really, and getting to meet these people in, it's going to sound really weird, but just meeting these people in real life. I think that it'd be really, really interesting meeting a lot of the podcasters, and I think that certainly for me, having a good old network with quite a lot of them would be really, really interesting. We even been like discussing about the fact that it'd be really, really fun to, well, basically join in on some of their shows. I think it'd be a right laugh, to be honest with you. But yeah, the point being is that they've set that up, so I'm thinking of going to that. I can't remember why I brought that up now, but I did. But it'd be really interesting to see if any of you lot will be going to that. If any of the fans of the shows will be going to that specific, because it's not specifically for podcasters or YouTubers, as if we're in some kind of exclusive club. We're not. We're just normal people that like talking FPL. So there's no harm in that really. But yeah, so that's gonna be that, and yeah, I think I'll wrap it up. I mean, do I do the old advertising for subscribers and stuff? I mean, like I said, this has just been purely for experimental purposes only. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for you guys. I mean, Clement LaRue, Vince Chapman, you've been here the whole blinking time. It's been absolutely fantastic. I can't thank you enough for joining me just for this brief, I say brief experiment. I think we've been going on for nearly 2 hours, for crying out loud. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when the actual season kicks off? But I just want to thank you so much for joining in, experiencing this new layout, the new sound quality that we've got. Keep looking out for our stuff over on Twitter and Instagram. I mainly use Twitter, to be honest with you. I personally think it's a better platform personally for FPL content. I think it's got a hell of a lot better interaction. I think Twitter hands down, in my opinion, wins outright over Instagram for interaction on posts. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, keep a lookout on Twitter for whenever I put up some random jokey tweets or whatever regarding all things FPL. And again, if you have enjoyed this content, if you want to hit the subscribe button, be much appreciated. And I'm going to leave it there. So thank you so much for joining me live. It's been a very long one, and I've enjoyed that. Bring on the next podcast whenever that will be. It will probably be sometime next week. And in fact, that's the reason why I brought it up. I haven't even finished yet. The reason why I brought out that Marylebone one is because Pool Fans was asking when the game is released, and I was just looking over the dates. So yeah, I reckon at some point next week, between, let's say, Tuesday the 25th of June and all the way up to maybe Wednesday the 3rd, Thursday the 4th of July, they're going to be sprinkle dusting us with various player prices. That's what will happen. And then I personally think that the game will be launched between Friday the 5th of July and Wednesday the 10th. That's what I think. And then of course, like I just mentioned, on the 13th is when that Who Got the Assist meetup is going to be happening in Marylebone. Then of course, from that moment on, we'll then have, after the 13th, 3.5 weeks left until the start of the season. In fact, to make it even bleaker, we have got exactly 6.5 weeks left until game week 1. Okay? So if you're still watching live, which I know there'll be a couple of you at least watching this still live, there is only 6.5 weeks left until game week 1 is starting on the 9th of August, where Liverpool kick off against Norwich on Friday evening, and everybody's going to be captaining Salah. It's just hit me how quick that's coming. Oh no, sorry, what am I on about? Yeah, we're June, aren't we? Yeah. Ha! Sorry, I thought I was going mad then. Yeah, we're in June. Yeah, so 6.5 weeks. Yeah, so hopefully me and Jason will be doing, and Dan, will be doing some special podcasts when we do get some information regarding it. It's just going to be fun again, just interacting with you guys. So yeah. Next week, Vince Chapman just quickly saying, next week Monday players are back for training. Yeah, and of course Wolves will be, going off to Europe basically to start their qualifying. Right then, I'm done. I'm done speaking. Thank you ever so much, and we will see you guys soon. Take it easy, and thank you very much.